welcome back to my channel and welcome to a fun baby update video. I am going to go over my plans for the nursery as well as go over the anatomy scan. I got some really cute 4D footage of the baby that I'll share with you guys. And I have a story time of something that happened that was hands down the scariest thing that's happened in this pregnancy and James's pregnancy. It's a strange story, so I'm going to tell you that as well. I'm also going to take you into the baby nursery and show you our starting point because it's really bad. And I feel like before and afters are so much more refreshing when the before is pretty horrible and our before is bad. It is literally a junk room right now. It is where we have put miscellaneous pieces of furniture that don't have a home elsewhere. There's exercise equipment in there that isn't going to stay in there, obviously, because it is going to be a baby room. And it's currently like a cat quarantine room because Pinecone had to get a couple of teeth removed. This is a long story, but anyway, he had to be kept away from the other cats because he had to be on a special diet while he was healing. And so we have like a cat tree and a litter box in there, and like he was staying in there for a while. He's all healed and he's out now. That room used to be Alex's office, like back when we first moved into this house, and he moved out of it and into a studio outside of the house before we got pregnant. So yeah, it was like 7 or 8 months ago. And our first thought was, let's turn it into a gym, because as much as yes, our future wishes were for it to be a baby room, at that point, we had been trying for a baby for years and we were not pregnant with a successful baby yet. So we were like, instead of just leaving it empty, let's turn it into a gym. But then shortly after starting to turn it into a gym, like literally right as we got some equipment moved in there, I found out I was pregnant and, you know, this baby seems to be sticking. So it's gonna be a baby room. I feel so like energized and motivated to get my house together. My dreams of having the house put together by the time the baby comes might not actually happen. I just feel like there's so much still to do. I don't know how, but with the holidays being right in the middle of my like most intense nesting weeks, that kind of stinks because I'm gonna be out of the house for a long time. In about a week, we're gonna go to my parents' house for Christmas. We'll be there for, 10 days or so, and then I'll come back. It will be New Year's, and then it will be like straight baby mode until the baby comes, because we're gonna have to put the nursery together. We're gonna have to just get everything prepped. I'm so excited, you guys. Like, I cannot even believe there's gonna be a little snuggly baby in our house again. I'm gonna go ahead and take you guys in there and show you what the nursery looks like currently. Obviously, this is a complete starting point. There isn't a single thing in there yet for the baby. Everything that's arrived, I haven't put in there yet. Okay, so when you walk out of my office, which I have a video tour of my office, straight ahead is going to be the baby room, and you can see all of these holes in the door and on the walls in here. It's because this used to be Alex's music studio. He had a bunch of sound paneling everywhere, and so there are holes everywhere, but we're gonna get that all patched up and nice. So here's an overview of the room. Not super attractive. We have a Peloton there. That's actually gonna go to my parents' house. I think that my dad will get more use out of it than me, and he really wants one, and I do not use mine enough to justify having it. So that's going to Kingsport. Over here, we have my little Bowflex stepper, which I do wanna keep this. I just don't know where it's gonna go, to be honest. And this desk is Blair's desk that Alex used for a while, and then Blair hasn't decided if she wants to keep it or not. So I don't know if we're gonna give that away or if she's gonna take it back, but it's gonna move out of here. It's a bunch of junk on top. And then we have the cat tree here, the little litter boxes. Like I said, this was a Pinecone quarantine area for a while. Over here we have a little like drawer set from IKEA that we haven't put together yet. That's for my office. And then we have this little dresser, which I actually don't think we're gonna have a home for this. You can see all of the holes on the ceiling from Alex's sound paneling. So what I'm thinking is this is going to be the wall that I do an accent wall on. If I pick just one wall, the crib is gonna go over here. This room has the big double window. This is definitely the bedroom with the best light. So that's really nice for this room. And then the dresser is gonna go over here. I'm gonna do the rocking chair / glider in this corner. And then turning around, I might do a bookcase on this wall. I found one from Anthropology that will fit, that looks really nice, so we'll see. Or possibly even that wall. because obviously the crib isn't going to take up a whole lot of space on this wall. That's the door out. That's my office across the way. And then this is his little bathroom. It's nice because it has a bathtub. I love the subway tile and the accents here. So this will be his little bathroom. Really, really pretty. These lights are pretty. I need to replace the light bulb in that one. And then this is his little closet. So this is definitely the smallest closet of all the closets in our house. James's is probably 2.5 times the size of this, but I'm considering having the boys share a room when they get a little bit bigger. So James's closet being so big will actually be really beneficial for a shared room. I can't wait to look back at that clip once the nursery's put together, because I just feel like right now it just looks so horrible. This is like real life showing you guys my cat quarantine / gym / furniture graveyard room, but it's gonna be so cute. I'm trying to decide between two main ideas. The first one would be to just do one accent wall, the wall the crib is gonna be on, and I'm thinking of doing like a board and batten look, or do more of like an angled woodwork wall. I'll try to put pictures in here so you guys know what I'm talking about. The nursery colors are going to be creams, caramels, tans, beiges, with an accent of this really beautiful muted green color. And so I'm either gonna have the accent wall be on one wall, be a statement wall that the crib is on, and be in that green color, and then the rest of the wall would be like maybe a cream, or I'm gonna do like a half wall, you know, like a chair, I think they call it chair rail. And if I did that, it would be the entire room, and I would either have the chair rail painted the green and then do cream or a wallpaper above it, or I would do the chair rail, whatever that's called, the half wall, in a lighter color like a cream or an off-white, and then do green paint above it. So I haven't decided. There's a few things, like I said. We have ordered the crib. It has arrived. I'm so excited. It's not assembled. It's still in its box. We have it in the playroom right now because, like I said, I haven't put any baby things in the baby room yet. I haven't purchased any other pieces of furniture for that room. I do need to get a bookcase and a glider. I was gonna get a rocker, and I posted on Instagram stories a couple of options I was looking at, and people made a really good point, which is if you have a toddler, it's better not to get a rocker for the new baby, because if the toddler comes in the room, you can squish their little toes pretty easily. And I hadn't even thought about that. I think that's a really good point. So I have switched over, and now I'm gonna get a glider, but I haven't picked it out yet because I really had my heart set on these rockers. And then for the dresser, I'm gonna use one that we already have. It's the dresser that I used in James's nursery. It's from IKEA. It's the IKEA Hims with the big one with the like 4 little drawers, 4 big drawers. And that worked perfectly for James. I feel like for nurseries, that's the perfect dresser because those 4 little drawers are just the perfect size for like little socks and little diapers. And I don't know, I really liked it. So I'm gonna use that again. I've also been super into geese, like gooses, for this nursery. I have purchased so many goose things, goose stuffed animals, goose loveys, goose decor. I found these goose decals for the wall. I'm so excited. I think I'm gonna put it like underneath the big window in there. And I don't know, geese have been my thing for this nursery. James was all like blues and grays and stars and moons, and this baby's like natural tones and sage green and geese. I've actually been calling him my little goose, and I've also been calling him my little worm because he's a wiggle worm. So he's either little worm or little goose, depending on my mood that day. If he's extra wiggly, he's a little worm. If he's more quiet, he's a little goose. Right now, he's very quiet. Yesterday, he did not stop moving the whole day, which reminded me so much of James, because James never had quiet days. James was never a little goose. James was a little worm the entire pregnancy. This one has days where he's super active, and then he has days where he's more chill. He's more chill right now, although I feel him moving in there. He's just not like crazy. Like James was always just crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the pregnancy update. This is going to be for weeks 17 through 22. I'm at the end of my 22nd week right now, so we are caught up. But before I get into that and my scary story time, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh.
I want some hash browns.
Hash browns. Well, there's kind of something like hash browns next to the chicken. How about that? Is that a deal?
Yes, that's the deal.
I've been having a lot of food aversions, which I'm going to get into, and HelloFresh just makes it so easy for me to not only like not have to think about what I'm going to make, not have to go to the grocery store. Looking at a lot of food options honestly is making me sick this pregnancy. I have been very like food averse, but every single meal that I've ever made through HelloFresh, I have loved, and James has loved. Like it's the best to not have to think about it and just have it delivered to the door where you just like make the meal and eat it and enjoy it. You can go to HelloFresh.com and use the code Fowler14 for 14 free meals plus 3 free gifts. The holidays can be hectic, but HelloFresh keeps things simple with recipes and ingredients that cut out grocery shopping and limit meal prep time so you can spend more of the festive season with friends and family. You also can't beat the value of HelloFresh. Even at full price, its pre-portioned ingredients mean you don't waste money on excess food. They have more 5-star reviews than any other meal kit, so you know that you're gonna love what you cook. And like I said, I have loved every single meal, and I am not a good cook. Like, one of the reasons why I love HelloFresh is because it's actually teaching me how to make things. I didn't know how to cook at all before starting with HelloFresh, and the meals are so good. I'm always like really impressed with myself, even though I have nothing to do with it really. The last meal that I cooked was called something like Crispy Kickin' Chicken, and it had mashed potatoes and roasted carrots on the side. It was so delicious. There was like this like honey sauce, and it was so good. James and I loved it, and then I put the leftovers in the fridge for Alex because he wasn't home when I cooked it. And when he came home, he literally ate the chicken cold out of the fridge because that's how good it was. I kept telling him like, heat it up because then the sauce and everything will like kind of come back to life. And he was like, no, these are delicious cold. So he scarfed them down. If you want to try HelloFresh, or if you want to give HelloFresh as a gift to someone because it is giving season, you can go to HelloFresh.com and use the code Fowler14 for 14 free meals plus 3 free gifts. Thank you so much, HelloFresh, for sponsoring another video, for supporting this channel, for feeding me and my family delicious meals and making our life easier. I really appreciate it. James, what's that?
A potato.
And what do you make with potatoes?
You make hash browns.
Yeah. Are you excited?
Yes.
Okay, are you gonna take a bite?
This carrot. Outside the mashed potatoes. Yum.
Okay, so on to the pregnancy update, weeks 17 through 22. I don't have a whole lot of weeks 17, 18, and 19. Those were weeks where I was starting to feel pretty good. I am still having a lot of food aversions, and I'm still having more nausea than I had with James. Definitely more nausea than with James. I would say every like 3 or 4 nights I have to take my nausea medicine before bed, but it's nothing compared to what I was feeling earlier in the pregnancy. I feel a lot of relief. The last few weeks I've had the nesting instinct hit me really hard. I've had a lot of motivation to work on my house and organize things that I've been putting off for 2 years, like my master closet. I finally started like getting an organizational system together for that. It's a work in progress. Like there's still so much to do, but that is something I've been kind of meaning to do for 2 years, and it just hasn't been a priority. And one day I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna do my closet today. The week I turned 20 weeks, I started having some pain that I don't remember ever having with James, especially this early. And it is pain when I stand or when I'm walking, anytime I'm on my feet, and it's very, very, very low in the front, like down where my C-section incision is, like super, super low underneath my like bikini line. And it's not where the baby's sitting. The baby's up higher. Obviously, I know your uterus goes all the way down, but like the baby's actually sitting and kicking and moving and stuff up much higher. And it has been really painful and giving me a lot of like discomfort when I'm standing. So when I went to my 21-week anatomy scan / checkup, I asked the doctor about it, and I mentioned that I had never had that feeling, that like pressure, especially this early with James. And she told me that it's actually probably my C-section incision, like the scar tissue on the inside, like stretching, and that I can get discomfort from that. And I had literally never heard of that. I did not know that you were more at risk for like discomfort in your next pregnancy based on a C-section. I've had friends have multiple C-sections, and they've never said that that was a thing. I asked mom and she was like, well, there was 10 years between my 2 C-sections, so I don't know. I didn't have any pain, but maybe it's because it was 10 years. But I feel like 3 years is it's a pretty far time between pregnancies. So I thought that was interesting. She told me as long as it's when I'm only standing or on my feet that it's okay. But if I start having a lot of pressure and discomfort when I'm sitting or laying down, that's more of a cause for concern. So she told me to just kind of keep my eye on it. But she said that she had had multiple C-sections personally and that she had also experienced that. So it's not horrible. It's not something that I can't get through. It's not like the nausea, the relentless nausea of the early pregnancy where I was like, I have to be put on something. Like I feel like I'm dying. It's not like that. It's not something I have to take medication for. It's just something that I'm aware of. And it's just like something that I'm going to have to monitor moving forward. I'm a little bit surprised that I'm feeling pain and pressure so early in my pregnancy. I hope that that's not a sign that I'm going to struggle later on, because I didn't struggle with James. And if you guys have been watching my channel a while, you might know that I did break my back a few years ago, and that is why I had a C-section in the first place with James. And with his pregnancy, I was warned by my doctors that there was a chance I was going to have a lot of pain in my back, and that was a risk I was willing to take. And I didn't have excess pain in my back any more than what I would think would be regular pregnancy pain. I mean, all pregnant women complain of their back hurting because you're just carrying so much extra weight. I don't remember like having anything that I felt was excessive with James's pregnancy. So I'm hoping that it's going to be the same thing. But after the scary thing that happened that I'm going to tell you guys about, I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to struggle as I get a little bit bigger. The anatomy scan itself went really well. Everything checked out. The baby is as healthy as we can hope for him to be. He's also in the 62nd percentile for size, which is wonderful for us because James was a tiny, tiny baby. Like I said, I did get some really cute 4D footage of the baby, and so I'm going to put that little video clip in here. You guys, does he not look exactly like James? Like, I think he looks like James's twin. I think he looks more like James than James did in his 4D scan at his anatomy scan, which is crazy. So that just like, I feel like once you can see your baby in 4D, it just like makes it so much more real. You feel more connected to the baby. Okay, so for the scary thing that happened, this happened only a couple of nights ago. And it just so happened that my mom was visiting just for the one night. She had driven my grandmother to Nashville so that she could catch a direct flight to California instead of having to take a connection. So they ended up sleeping over just one night in Nashville at our house. And this is the night that it happened. And that was a complete coincidence. I don't think what happened had anything to do with them being there, but I was so happy that my mom was there because it was really, really scary. It kind of started around dinner time. The first like weird thing happened that now looking back on it, I feel like maybe was a warning sign of something weird happening. And then it all kind of came to a head later on that night. So while I was at dinner, I noticed that the baby was making these big movements, like not just kicking, not even just like a somersault. I felt like he was like stretching over and over again and like pushing in all different directions and making these massive movements where he would like press his head or his butt up against my stomach and like go all the way around like with a lot of pressure. And then I had my hand on my belly because I was kind of feeling him like move around in there. And I noticed that he had pushed my belly button all the way out. And I have a really deep innie. Like my belly button was never even close to being pushed out. It wasn't even close to being flat with James ever, not even at the end, like when I was huge. And so this was like really weird for me. I kind of felt like I had like a hernia or something. Like literally it was so weird and it was so like tight. Mom felt it, Alex felt it, and we were all like, that is weird. And I was like, I feel like the baby is literally pushing on the inside of my belly button. Like I don't know how else that would happen. Like, I've never had that happen. If any of you guys have experienced that, if you have like a deep innie belly button that's like literally never been flipped inside out in your life, even in other pregnancies, and that's happened to you, like, let me know your experience. But that alone wasn't enough to like scare me or be like really weird or even worth telling in a story, except that a couple of hours later, I had just gotten ready for bed. I had just brushed my teeth and James's teeth. We had gotten in our PJs. We had just sat down in the bed. Like, the lights weren't even off yet. And I had this wave of something come over me. And it started at my core and it like radiated out to like the ends of my limbs. And I've never felt this in my life. My first thought was, I feel like my whole body just broke out into hives or something. Like, I felt like I needed to look in the mirror because something was like gonna be externally like wrong with me. And so I got up and I like walked over to the mirror and I looked totally normal. But I felt like my brain was telling me that like my whole body was going to be like red or flushed or like something strange. It was the strangest feeling. So I sat back down. I didn't say anything yet. My mom was in the room too. And I got this horrible, horrible feeling in my stomach, like where the baby is. And I can't explain it. It wasn't pain. It was like, I felt intuitively like something really weird was happening. And all of a sudden I got so nauseous, and I told my mom, like, can you go get my throw up bowl? I have like a designated throw up bowl because I cannot throw up in the toilet. I've mentioned that in a previous video. So she ran and got it. And at first I thought I was just going to get like sick. And then the worst pain of my life since the night I broke my back. I'm pretty sure that this actually was a very similar to pain to what I was feeling that night started. And I started having back contractions, and I thought I had gone into labor. I was having consistent and regular spasms and contractions in my back. And I do know that back labor is a thing. Some women will experience their labor pains more in their back. So my stomach wasn't contracting. I wasn't having like a tense stomach, but my back was like seizing up in a way that it's never done before, like aside from maybe the night I broke it. Like I said, like this is not something that's ever happened before. Around this time, my mom realized something was wrong, and she went and got Alex, and the two of them were like trying to figure out what was wrong, and I like couldn't verbalize what it was, but I was like, at this point I was in my bathroom and I was standing. I couldn't sit down. My whole back was just like tense and like seized up, and I was just like leaning onto the counter and just like swaying. And I asked them to like put pressure on my back and kind of like rub my back. So they both were kind of rubbing my back, and that was helping. And that made me think even more that it was contractions, like back labor, because like it was coming and going and the pressure was helping. And I have read that that is kind of how labor contractions are too. Alex brought me in some ice water to take a sip, and that's when I started like violently throwing up. I'm really glad that my throw up bowl was there, because I threw up for like a long time, and the pain in my back wasn't stopping, and it was just so scary because I didn't know what was happening. And so I ended up, after I was done like actively throwing up, I ended up taking a Zofran because I didn't have any more of my promethazine. I was out of my prescription, and I had a refill ready at the CVS, and I had chosen that afternoon not to pick it up because I was like, I'm gonna be okay for one night. I'll pick it up tomorrow. It's not something I take every night anymore anyway. And obviously I really wished I had had it that night, but I did have Zofran, so I took one of those. And then I took a Tylenol for my back, which you are allowed to take a Tylenol in pregnancy. And I have only ever taken Tylenol one other time this whole pregnancy. Like, I definitely don't take medicines regularly, but like I was like, I did not know what was going on. And slowly I started to get a little bit of relief from the Zofran and the Tylenol. And I was finally able to sit down in my bed. And then I was finally able a few minutes later to like lay down. And right around this time, my mom realized what she thinks happened. And now that I look back on it and I know that it wasn't labor, because it's been a few days and the baby is still in there moving around and I haven't had anything weird happen since this. I do think this is what happened. We think that the baby somehow lodged himself in between my belly button and my spine, which is exactly where the break in my back was. It was right on the back side of where my belly button is. And we think he lodged himself and was like pressing against both, which is why my belly button popped out. And he probably put so much pressure on that exact spot of my spine that it sent me into like debilitating pain, and potentially I was throwing up from the pain, even though at the time I didn't connect that the throwing up was because of the pain, because like with pregnancy you throw up randomly. But we think that it was like all tied into the fact that he was making these really big, massive movements and stretches and pressing specifically up against my belly button, which, like I said, is right across from where the back break is. If he had like his feet up against, you know, either my back or my belly, and his like little back and butt up against the other, and he was pushing, and right at that exact spot, because like I said, this never happened with James, so it must have just been the exact position he was in, because once I was able to get enough relief that I could lay down on my side, I felt him shift and I felt a lot of relief happen. So like he moved positions, and then between the Tylenol and the Zofran, it was like I was finally able to fall asleep. Everything about that, from the like weird flush I felt at the beginning where I like thought I had broken out into hives, and then the contractions and the throwing up, it was just really horrific. Like the whole situation was really scary. And I'm so glad my mom was there. Obviously, Alex was a huge help. He was rubbing my back. He was getting me water. He was like right there being super attentive. And then when I started throwing up, he took James out of the room because James was also kind of underfoot, wanting to know what was wrong with mommy. And he took James upstairs to the playroom, and they watched a movie and just gave mom and I time to like figure out what was going on. And there's just something about having your mama when you're like in a lot of pain or having something scary happen. It just brings a lot of relief. The belly button poking out thing was almost like a sign that he had gotten himself in a weird position. And it's strange that it took a couple of hours before like all the pain hit. I don't know if maybe he put like a little extra burst of pressure, or he shifted a little bit right then, right when I like sat down in bed, he might have shifted. I don't know. Everything's okay. Like I said, it's been a couple days. Baby is moving, active, not doing weird stretches since that night. He's just been normal. I don't know how he got himself in that position, but yeah, it was bad. So anyway, that's my story. That's my update for weeks 17 through 22. Like I said, I'm at the end of week 22, so I don't know when I'm going to do another baby update. It might be after my gestational diabetes test, which will be my next appointment. That would be a couple weeks because we do have Christmas coming up. I have a couple other videos for this channel planned before Christmas. And so, yeah. That is everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much, HelloFresh, for sponsoring this video. If you have ever had an experience like that, leave me a comment below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.